Canada.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us for another episode of Logos, Pathos, Ethos. I appreciate you joining us again, and I do appreciate the time that you've given us. So, what we're going to do is we're going to wait a couple of minutes to allow people to come into the room before we get started. So, go ahead and take your time. We'll get started in approximately the next maybe minute and a half to 2 minutes, and then we'll go forward from there. And thank you all so much for showing up. Your attendance is greatly appreciated. I'm humbled. Testing 1 2, testing 1 2, just checking, making sure my sound is good. That way I'm clearly heard as we're providing the presentation this evening. We're providing the presentation this evening. If you have your speakers up, please turn them down. That way it doesn't interfere.
Okay.
That way we don't get any feedback.
Okay.
If you have your speakers up, please turn them down. That way it doesn't interfere. That way we don't get any feedback. If you have your speakers up. Thank you so much, Queen Mother Pierce. How are you? I'm sorry I missed your most recent episode. I do apologize, but I will definitely watch it sometime this evening because I'm interested in the topic that you're talking about. You're dead on the topic. I am loving it. Thank you so much. Do not stop what you're doing. Please, if you can, Queen Mother, at the bottom, put a link or the address of where our viewers may be able to subscribe to your podcast and also watch the episodes that you put up every Sunday at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. Please do so. And also, if anyone is in the room has any questions or concerns or comments, feel free to use the chat line downstairs, the chat uh, box, and you can put that information there. And if you have a question for me, or if you disagree with something that I'm saying, I would ask that you hold your disagreement or question towards the end of the show. But if you put it on the screen, the person that is helping moderate the room, they will let me know that there's a question or a state or a comment that I may need to address. And that way, we'll make sure everyone is heard because this is a what should I say? This is a collaborative effort between us all during this podcast. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. And Queen Mother, please keep up the good work. God bless you. God bless you so much. We're about 3 minutes after. Let's give everyone about 1 more minute. There we go. Thank you so much. Thank you, Queen Mother. Thank you. We're going to go about 1 more minute and then we'll go ahead and delve into the material. This is some really, I feel this is some really well needed information we're going to go over this evening. Well needed. Thank you so much, my cousin T. Marie. Thank you so much for joining us as well. Your presence is always appreciated. God bless you as well. Thank you. And thank you also to my moderator who helps me run this platform. Your assistance is greatly appreciated. Budget Bills, thank you so much, brother. I appreciate you also being here. You always show up every Tuesday without fail, unless something else comes up. But man, I do appreciate your time. And I want everyone to know before, as I get ready to start this information, I want you all to know something. I came to a realization that time is running out for all of us. If you're watching this platform, time is running out. Some of us may have more time than others relative to whatever age you may be, but we are still running out of time. And because we are running out of time, I have realized that time is very valuable. Because time is very valuable, I would not waste your time with any foolishness or anything that would not benefit you or cultivate your character. So tonight's episode, I believe, is going to, in that spirit, be able to uh, improve ourselves, not improve others, but really, this is about improving ourselves. And because that is so vital with the limited time that we have in our own personal lives, I thank you for spending about the next 20 minutes with me, because the information that we're about to talk about, I believe, in my personal opinion, is something that is vital towards us being able to get along as a species, as a group, as individuals, as a society, as a nation, as a planet. I believe that what we're about to talk about is fundamental. Let me ask you, what do you value in people that you meet? If I asked you the question, what is it that you find attractive in others? And it doesn't necessarily have to mean sexual attraction or physical attraction, like, oh, they look like this or they can do this or what have you, but just period. What do you find attractive in others? I have been around this world once and I've met everyone twice. And when I would ask some of my friends, lifelong friends at that, what was it that you really liked about me? What was it about me that caught your attention? And the answer actually caught me off guard. It wasn't intelligence, and I really work hard towards being a more intelligent, informed individual. I really do. But that wasn't what they said. They didn't say, well, it was your physical attributes, as a younger man, that is, anyway. Um, but that wasn't what they remembered me most for. It sure wasn't my social status or my accomplishments. What they told me they remembered me most for was I was a very nice man. I was very kind. Initially, I took that as I appreciated at the time. I appreciated the compliment. But I kind of was like, well, I really wish they'd have found me more attractive physically, or, thought I was a smart person. But, anybody can be nice, but can they? And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. Kindness, the curative intercourse, curative, Curative, intercourse. And I wanted to stress that the importance of tonight's episode is vital, because I think in this world, we focus on the negative way too much. I think even in my own episodes within this podcast, I focused more on the deficits rather than accentuating the positives or the strengths of us as a species. And case in point, how many times have you looked at the news and it's primarily filled with bad news? Someone got killed, someone got robbed, someone was stabbed, someone's, whatever the case may be, a building blew up somewhere, bomb went off, war here, sickness there, starvation here. But you rarely hear about the kind ones. And because of that, we tend to have a very negative view of the world that we live in. And it's because, well, let's just face it, mean people, disruptive individuals usually get the most attention. But it's never the random acts of kindness that we talk about in our comings and goings with one another. And that's what we're going to discuss. So, first and foremost, let's get some terms clearly defined. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about kindness. What is it? The next thing we'll do is we'll discuss why is talking about kindness or why is kindness important. And then the last thing we'll do is we'll talk about, well, how do we actually allow kindness? How does kindness actually affect us? And tonight's episode will probably be about maybe 20 minutes at the maximum. So tonight will be a relatively short episode, but I will need you to follow me because everything that I start out with is going to build on the previous lesson that you learned before. So as we work our way through this subject matter, just remember the only way you're going to understand the second point that I'm making is if you understood the first point. And it's going to be very simple and brief. And I'm going to get you guys out of here and we'll go forward from there. Kindness, what is it? The definition of kindness is a type of behavior marked by acts of generosity, consideration, rendering assistance, or having concern for others without expecting praise or reward in return. That is very crucial. I'll read it again. Kindness is a behavior marked by acts of generosity, consideration, rendering assistance, or concern, having a concern for others without expecting praise or reward in return. How many times has someone done something for you and you were thinking they were doing something out of kindness and only to find out they had ulterior motives? It totally disrupted the kind act that you received. It totally disrupted your appreciation for the kind act you received because it made it more contractual. As a matter of fact, the person that received the kind act began to feel more of a debtor because there was an expectation or a reward, even if it's in the form of a praise. There was something expected of me when I already didn't have something to give. True story. One time when I was in Atlanta, Georgia, I was talking with my mentor, and he is still my mentor to this very day. And I hope he's watching. And if you are, thank you, teacher. Thank you, Dad. I did something for someone one day, and they didn't even turn around and thank me. And when I was talking with my dad about it, I said, Dad, I did X, Y, and Z for this individual. And do you know they didn't even have the nerve to tell me thank you? I was highly upset. And he turned to me and asked a simple question. Okay, then why did you do it? That really made me think about that question. He asked the question, why did you do it? It made me focus on what were your motives, Ron? What deficits did you have in yourself that you were expecting to receive from someone else, whether it was in a monetary form or whether it was in a form of a thank you? And don't misunderstand me. Gratitude is a very good thing. It's positive. But if you don't receive it and you begin to take on a spirit or an attitude of discontent, his question becomes, why did you do it? The famous philosopher by the name of Aristotle, who learned under Plato, whom studied under Socrates, once stated, kindness is helpfulness towards someone in need, not in return for anything, nor for advantage of the helper himself, but for that of the person helped. That was the question. That was the statement he was making behind the question. Why did you do it? If it wasn't for the benefit of someone else, whether or not you received anything from it, why did you do it? And as we just simply stated, kindness is doing something for someone else without an expectation receiving anything in return. Well, I also ran across another philosopher by the name of Friedrich Nietzsche. And Nietzsche states, kindness is the most curative of all herbs and agents in human intercourse, which is why the title of tonight's episode is Kindness, the Curative Intercourse. Now, I know where most of our minds are when you heard the word intercourse. So, what we're going to do is we're going to also work on some of these definitions as well, because that's very vital towards us understanding exactly what we're talking about. Now, before I go any further, am I making sense? Is this kind of clear what we're talking about right now? If so, just in the chat box, just give me a thumbs up or say yes, it's making good point. Thank you so much, Queen Mother. I really do appreciate your assistance. Thank you. All right. I always want to make sure we're on one accord. The definition of curative is to cure a disease, something that promotes recovery from an illness. Curative. Well, what is the definition of intercourse? Intercourse is defined, and this is in the Webster's dictionary. Intercourse is communication or dealings between individuals and or groups. So thus we have the title of tonight's episode, The Curative Intercourse. In society, humans choose their mates on a number of factors. And actually, there are about 5 major ones. And one of them, whom we decide to mate with, partner with in life, thank you so much, Brother Kevin, for joining us this evening. Your presence is appreciated, brother. God bless you. It's been a while since I've seen you. God bless you. Thank you. There are approximately 5 traits that we look for out of people that we allow into our lives, whether it's intimately or whether it's, in terms of a friendship, whatever the case may be. And one of those things we look for is we look at if they're the proper age for us. We also determine if they are proper mates for us, depending on their level of attractiveness, what we find attractive in them, because that's important. You have to be attracted to the person that you're with. That also feeds into physical appearance. Now, physical appearance can be attractiveness, but it can also be in terms of how you carry yourself, how you maintain your hygiene, how you dress, how you speak, how you conduct yourself. Physical appearance, your social presence. Those are all very important. Another one is intelligence. Some of us, I think all of us, in whatever form or whatever arena that we find interesting, you have to be an intelligent individual to some degree. Because from what I hear, most women, they tell me, well, they can't stand a dumb man. You got to hold the conversation. So intelligence is very important. Maybe not at the time when you meet them, but going forward in terms of a lifelong partnership, intelligence ranks up there. But you know what the next one is? Kindness. Kindness. Kindness was studied by some researchers at Yale University. And they showed that empathy is inherent. Empathy, which is another way of saying kindness or consideration. Empathy is inherent, natural to all human beings. Natural. What we also learned is that empathy during a child's infancy is when it is reinforced during their developmental years. What we have learned is that those children began to show higher levels of empathy or concern for their peers whenever their peers were in distress. Isn't that interesting? Children learn kindness from us as their parents or role models, and they begin to mimic that behavior based on what they observe. And we have found that kindness usually spreads across groups depending on what they observe as young children. Barbara Taylor and Adam Phillips, two researchers from the United Kingdom, go United Kingdom, my second home, I miss you all, learned that within adult kindness, real kindness changes people in the doing of it, often in unpredictable ways. Behaving kindly improves a person's overall well-being. Case in point, how many times have you heard of random acts of kindness? There's an elderly lady in the middle of a street and there's oncoming traffic. Some young man or some young woman sees this individual in distress and they put their own selves at risk. They have the opportunity to possibly lose their own life because they're concerned about the person in the middle of the street, and they will face direct threats to save that individual, whether it's an elderly individual, whether it's a young kid, whatever the case may be, or someone that's just not paying attention. They have all of their faculties, but they're not aware of their environment. And they go into harm's way to help that individual so that they can get back safely. Random acts of kindness. When was the last time you've seen those stories told on the 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 10 o'clock news? Very rare. And to be honest, it really doesn't make good news. But what it does is reaffirm our belief in mankind to whatever degree. It lets you know that because of kindness, we're really all in this together. We're all one. Kindness is well, I shouldn't say only, it is one of the rare traits that does three things. When we receive kindness, we feel good, don't we? When you receive kindness, when someone does something that catches you totally off guard and they didn't have to do it, they just did it because they were kind. It helps you feel good. You know what else it does? When you give kindness, it helps you feel good because you were able to help someone that couldn't help themselves at that time in that particular situation or predicament. You know what else it does? People watching other people be kind to other people helps those people feel good. So you feel good when you do it. You feel good when you receive it. You feel good when you see it. Kindness. That's how kindness affects us. Kindness is often taught from parents to children and is learned through observation and some direct teaching. Now, when we say direct teaching, it's kind of like the forum that we're having right now. I'm on this platform speaking to you right now, and we're talking about kindness. And that's a good reinforcer for us to remember how important it is. If you're unfamiliar with kindness, it's a good platform to help you orient yourself to understanding what kindness is, because there have been a lot of people that have received a lot of tragedy in their lives. They've received a lot of heartache, a lot of pain. So they may not have really a reference point based on how they were raised for kindness. And having forums like this for someone to talk about it is good. But you know what's better? When they see it. Children, when they see kindness, when adults see kindness, it helps them way better than talking about it. Ask anyone that has been a victim of child abuse, and they'll tell you kindness is one of the one things that allows them to believe in human goodness and have a reason to become a better person. Otherwise, we can just fight fire with fire, and I can't. But then in that case, everyone gets burned. Who benefits from that? No one. But when you're kind, you always remember that person. You always remember that person that fed you when you was hungry. You never saw him again. You always remember that person that took you in and gave you a place to sleep that night. And when you went on your way, you may have never seen them ever again. But you always remembered them. Kindness. If kindness is too broad of a word, let's use a couple of words that are very similar to kindness. Altruism, compassion, empathy, and generosity. And do you know what we have learned through research about kindness, especially with children? We have learned that kindness, when practiced and observed, it helped children not only understand what kindness means, but it gave them a platform to begin to understand gratitude. Gratitude is very important. Gratitude can only come by a person that is humble. If you are a grateful person, you are a humble person. And more often than not, you probably started out as being very kind. But if you are a very proud person, a person that doesn't understand kindness and you see it as weakness, you probably never understood kindness and probably aren't grateful in your life. You're more than likely selfish. Or you do things looking for something in return. Kindness. So, as I promised you, tonight's show was not going to be long. We talked about what kindness is. We talked about how we actually learn kindness. And we also talked about how it affects us. We don't have to make this subject hard tonight. It's very simple. And for those of you that believe in fighting fire with fire, for those of you that like butting heads, and you believe that you see that as a form of weakness, I'm going to end tonight with a quote, and I'm going to let you go about your way. You should always respond with kindness towards the evil done to you. And in doing so, you will destroy in an evil person that pleasure which he or she derives from the evil that they're doing to you. I hope you have a good night. I hope everything we've said this evening has made sense. You all take care. I am most appreciative for your time with us. Have a good evening and God bless.